Hello, everybody. Welcome. I was just setting my intent, lighting my candle, and I was almost late. But I am here. I'll give it a little bit and see who joins me today. For those who don't know me, my name is Master Juniper Bloom Mystique. I am an Ascension Master, Master Healer, and Divine Guide, or what Spirit wants me to say, the return of Christ. Why would I say that? Because the work I did is that. I've been doing it since 2019 when I had a Kundalini awakening suddenly that I didn't ask for or attempt to have. It just happened. And then my whole life changed. From healing people in ways I've never seen done before. Hi, Lisa. What up? Says nobody's here. I'm so glad you're here. My numbers always lie. I'm telling you. Good morning. Then from there, I started doing things to the earth, like clearing Mount Shasta, which was not of light at all, to freeing Jesus' soul, to activating all pyramids across the globe, returning what was light to where it's right, undoing all darkness back to the beginning of time, repairing the crystalline grid. What else? There was a lot. Yeah, now it shows 1. So at first it said 0. So I'm glad you are here. It always lies. So that is who I am. You guys, there was a lot to it, including the Nile, Horus returning, undoing the Holy Grail, which was not holy at all. And when I watched that one, I still cry. Like, that was intense and painful. So you will find all truth here, all components of the return of Christ. That is, in fact, who I am, and I'm so proud of it. And I'm going to sing it to the heavens. And if you don't believe it, that's okay, right? People will say use discernment. Well, you can do that too, because I have all proof, and it all played out on this channel. So welcome. There's a reason Spirit had me do it, and I didn't know it at all. I didn't know who I fully was until the very end. Okay. Activating pyramids was not normal. My heart became enlarged, you guys, and I still have scars on my feet. What does that mean? You know how when like your blood doesn't flow, sometimes your veins will pop out on your feet? It's a medical condition. Well, I got that because my heart became so enlarged. My whole body swelled and I got those things popping out on my feet. I can't get rid of those, but we healed my heart. So super awesome. Today I'm here to give some messages for those who might show. And also I wanted to talk about the further understanding of God. Right? I think we have been so far removed from what unconditional love is and the true God, like holy moly, right? Like we don't even know who the true God is because they have been bombarding us with a false God your entire life, and not even this lifetime, pretty much all of them. So a good example of that, as I was telling the group that joined my art workshop yesterday, which was amazing, by the way. Super amazing time. I think that was one of the best ones I've ever it just felt so good. De La Roca had posted a video, and we all know that how the shadow works. Like, we're learning, right? I mean, I know I had to beat it all the way back to the beginning of time, but most people, we don't realize how constraining the shadow is, how deep we are in the shadow, and how much we don't understand God. God is unconditional love. And in De La Roca's video yesterday, I didn't watch it, but the title alone hurt my solar plexus because he had put something about humiliation initiation. You have that deck? Oh, I forgot. Wow, that's so cool. I didn't know you had that deck. That's so awesome. But then again, time fades. So sorry. So you pulled the card lost item. Look under the couch. Well, I had asked Michael for help looking for my water bottle cap a few weeks ago. I had looked under. Let's see. That's all it says, and it stopped. Did you find it? She looked under the tables. It wasn't there. Then you drew your card and looked again, and there it was. Woo! I love that. Yes, I love that deck. That was my first ever deck I created. I can pull that one out too. It's my favorite one. And I have to finish the next one because it's anchoring for me to draw it, right? Oh, I'm so happy. That's awesome. I love that deck. It truly is about connecting truly to the divine realm, right? And getting guidance from loved ones, from spirit, and even from your higher self. So I love that. Awesome, Lisa. That's so cool. But De La Roca's video talked about humiliation initiation. And I'm like, that is not God at all. You guys, God would never want you to humiliate yourself. But you know how we are asked to shine our light. Some of us are asked to do things. God asked me to be myself and allow myself to be myself no matter what. And that was going to change the world. And I didn't know what that meant either. Because they don't want us to shine our light, right? The true light, think of Salem. That came out yesterday. We were throwing a lot of love to Salem because we had cleared it along the return of Christ path. All darkness was cleared. And yesterday in our art workshop, that came through again. And it is a clear reflection of the words that we use. The intent behind them can get construed by the words that we use, and further understanding of God. True God is complete unconditional love. Okay, God would never do anything to cause somebody humiliation. That is ego, that's the shadow, that is all the darkness. They don't want us to shine our light. Okay, what God asks is to have faith in Him and stand strong against all that tries to take that away from you. That's all God asks. Stand in strength against this darkness. Shine your light to help others see through, even if it's difficult for you to do. I had to accept every bit of who I was. And that wasn't easy for me because I don't have a massive ego. I wasn't here to get a million followings just by my words, right? Things that were happening to me were very painful and also magnificently like beyond what we're used to. So it was difficult for me to shine that light and to express who I was and what was really happening. Right? So when De La Roca says initiation, humiliation, that's a false concept of God. God would never want to humiliate anybody. It's the shadow that doesn't want you to shine your light. So you have to go, it's like a warrior stance, right? That's all God asks of us is, can you be true to your heart and to love no matter what is coming against you? Okay, so we have to use our words wisely. We have to truly understand that God is unconditional, would never ask anybody to hurt themselves, ever. Right? No suffering. That's the new earth, you guys. No suffering, no division, free water, free electricity. I'm not making that up. The earth supplies everything. That's what the pyramids are. It was really cool to see those being activated and what that meant. I didn't get it at first either because I didn't know who I was at the time. I was just doing it. But Tesla would tap into that, right? He would tap into the pyramids and how they supply our electricity. He was talking about that. And when I rebuilt the crystalline grid and activated the pyramids, that's what I did. I took my light and I filled it, and that's why my heart became enlarged. True story. I would even show you my feet if I could. Like there are scars that the doctors are like, well, and when I did that, it was like filled with light and all the crystals were replaced underneath them. And that is why there's all these. I find it interesting because it does align to the volcanoes a lot. Indonesia, I activated a pyramid there and we just had a major volcano erupt there. Myanmar, Machu Picchu, the Congo, British Columbia. And then there's more. Kilimanjaro. Lisa, do you remember when I did Kilimanjaro? You might remember. I blew it up 3 times. Hi, Jacinth. I filled it with light and it bursts 3 times. So that's still to come too. Like, yep. It's pretty awesome stuff. And then you realize like how much they kept us secluded and divided and in fear and in their control, right? Because we shouldn't have to suffer. We shouldn't have to go without food and water, let alone being poisoned with our food, right? So it's important to further understand true God, because when De La Roca says humiliation initiation passed, right? You passed. That's a false title. I didn't watch his video. I love De La Roca. He sees everything very quickly. I trust him. I know he's connected because if these guys know, we'll do something in a workshop and we don't tell anybody yet. And De La Roca will post about it 2 or 3 days later, maybe even 1. So I know he's very connected. His heart is very pure and open. However, even he has to up his game a little bit, right? Because when I saw that title, it hit me in my gut. I'm like, God would never, ever want to humiliate you. Just like we were talking about in Salem, because Jacinth helped me clear that during the return of Christ. We actually were drawn there to clear all the darkness and free all the souls that had tortured there. They like to dim our light. They like to use words that are against that light, basically. Humiliation is one of them. Any kind of division, any kind of sorrow, any kind of judgment is not of God. And all God asks is that we stand strong against that, because he knows it's hard, right? Like, this was not easy. Just like what I did was not easy. And that's all they would ever say is just stand in strength, don't give up. No matter what comes against you. And that's a better title. Can we stand in strength like warriors of that light? That's what God asks. But even be careful with the word humiliation, because only the shadow and the dark and judgment would do that. Okay. God would never say, oh yeah, you have a humiliation initiation. That's not right. Okay. His video might have been really good and on point. It probably was. He usually is. But the title alone was like, oh, no, we need to understand God more. And even the DM goes through stuff, and I go through stuff with the shadow. And it's discernment truly really means is see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. So anywhere there's division and judgment and shadow and, things like that, that is not God. Okay. Just why they call it Judgment Day. They make everybody afraid of the return of Christ. 11:11. And that's false. The chills. That was overwhelming chills. It's supposed to bring us back to unconditional love and unity and all connectedness, all one, even with the earth, right? The most beautiful thing that I realized on this journey is how disconnected they made us from the earth. And in repairing all of that, it reads your blueprint. The earth's DNA and your DNA become union. Why? Have you ever heard of like superfoods and planting with your DNA and things, and they become your superfoods? The earth supplies all of that: electricity, water, foods. It was never meant to be what they made it be. And the only humiliation is because of those who want to dim your light. Do you understand? And so what his title should have been is like Warriors of the Light or something like that, right? Like, you've survived the challenge. The warriors, because that's what it takes to make it into the new earth. You have to be strong. You have to be ready to let go of what is not truly of God, right? We really do. We have to be willing to let go. And that means stand alone. That means sometimes stand alone and stand against those that want to judge you. You think it's easy for me to say, hey, dude, I'm the return of Christ. I activated pyramids. Oh, shoot, I undid the Holy Grail. But the thing is, I have the proof. How normal is that? That's not normal at all. I actually have the proof because it unfolded as my awakening. And in the beginning of my awakening, I was just doing healings. All of a sudden, I woke up to this healer that I was and traveling outside of my body and doing things and seeing the Bible unfold and words pop out and being shown what wasn't real and what was. And so doing workshops, I got the nudge to record those for other people's benefit and also for my own safety and protection. Because not everybody that comes around has pure intent, right? But not only that, then I didn't have to write everything down I was getting in their healing and put it in their email anymore. And so I got the nudge to record them. And then after that, I got the nudge to start doing workshops and also Hertz music creations that I create and I channel them. I didn't know how to do any of that. So how weird is that, right? Like I couldn't deny what I was, and I had to come out and be open about it because God asked me to be. And you know how many people judged me all along the way? It hurts. And I think that's what De La Roca is reflecting or trying to reflect is the shadow, just like in Salem, which came out yesterday, right? In our healing, we mentioned it again and we sent love there again. They wanted to dim our light because it brings the truth through. Then people can't help but to see the truth because God is love, pure, unconditional. He doesn't judge anybody, you guys. Nobody. The only thing is people remove themselves from him because they forget what love is. They allow the shadow to take over or judgments to become them, right? So when God says, hey, even if it's uncomfortable, please shine your light and stand strong in it. Because that's what caused people to fall away from God, is they would use things against you. Like in Mount Shasta Part 2, they got a DM to kill his feminine, and then the bloodshed there. And that is where I burned Samael. Okay. So the energy of the shadow gets in your head: division, judgment, fear, corruptedness, and bloodshed. All of that is not God, you guys. And it's unconditional love. Like maybe even my new twin flame is not used to that either. None of us really were. Can we raise our hand and say we've been loved unconditionally our whole life by everybody we know in this earth? No. Okay. So pay attention to the words wisely. All right. Where there is an illusion of nope, I can't either. My whole life, I was not loved unconditionally, not even by my family, right? Like it was hard to find because they don't teach you that. They teach you to judge. They teach you to divide because we're all connected. And so the more you do that, the more you hurt that light within your heart. And Judgment Day was not Judgment Day. It's who can hear the call of God. Scales of justice, who has a more open heart, who's more looking for that love, and who's willing to be the warrior of God. And no matter what comes against you, remember the thing they were pushing with fear? And some of us said no way to the no way. And it didn't matter what they shoved down our throat. Aw, thank you. It didn't matter what they shoved down your throat. It didn't matter what fear they pushed on us. We couldn't work. We would lose our jobs. Some people lost some major employment, some major income, lots of fear. I had a friend actually be told he couldn't visit his grandmother unless he got it. And so he felt forced to get it. And that's not God. You have free will. So that right there is a clear perspective that something was wrong. Because anywhere they make you go against free will is not of God either. Okay, I can't do anything outside of people's free will. And I get a kick out of that. I see people going, oh, I was remote viewing to so-and-so. I'm like, did you get permission to do that? You probably didn't see something right. Okay. You can't go outside of free will. Just like when I go into healings, it's a vulnerable feeling sometimes because I can see everything, but I can only see what is in your free will to see. I would never violate that. And that's the rules of the new land. To understand that's God's light. Because we're all connected. Just like manifesting. If you're manifesting for the higher good of all, oh, boom, right? Like, boom, that's love. Is this making sense a little bit more? So there's a lot of confusion with what is the shadow and what is love. And I'm going to talk tomorrow more about the shackles that bind because I did the spell casting for that, but I'm going to describe exactly what those shackles are because you have to overcome them because it's all false. It's matrix and it's hard. It's not always easy to do that because of the world they created you in. Okay. And we must free ourselves from those. The more you free yourself from those and a further understanding into unconditional love, the more you rise. Okay. The more you can do that, the more you can clear your karma. Those are those contracts we didn't really understand. Each contract has at least one person on the other side, right? That you're helping and you're affecting. So there's confusion with the shadow because as general speaking, we are pure, we care and we do care how we affect each other, even if we're wounded, right? Even if we're wounded deep down in, nobody really wants to hurt each other. And they use that against you. And they'll do it through fear and division and separation. The more they divide you, the more they confuse you, the more you can't see clearly. That's why they did that. That's why they divided Adam and Eve. That's what they did. Jesus and Mary Magdalene were twin flames. And when I resurrected them, their souls came back together just like my DM and mine did right before that. And it was intense. And to feel that separation, because I had to feel it to repair it and also call all that lifetime stuff back and undo the Holy Grail, was not anything I would wish on anybody to feel. Okay. So this is what they do. That's why there's not equality. There wasn't, at least in many things, masculine and feminine, to who are you judging, right? Like all of it, it's there. So when you see something that says initiation, humiliation, initiation, that's a false concept of God. And maybe his video was not a false concept necessarily. Maybe he had great information because I trust De La Roca. But even he needs to watch his words a little more because we need to rise out of that more. God would never want to humiliate anybody. God wants equality and love, even for animals that we've been eating. You feel me? And I feel like with the shadow, it even confuses my twin flames sometimes, because sometimes when we get closer together, like we are totally one internally. I have a walk-in. So because of that, some stuff happened. And I don't know him physically, the new one. I knew the original one. But I know him on the inside because we were already connected. So I feel him. And every time more love is given from him, oh, you better believe the shadow steps in is like, oh, no, you don't, right? Trying to stop that union. That's been what's happened. And so anytime as an individual you rise to love, the shadow is going to get in and try to confuse you. And it uses the shackles that bind a lot. Okay. Fear. I get a lot of chills today. Fear, division, confusion, manipulation, humiliation. None of that is God. God would never want anybody to hurt or suffer. That's like when people say, hey, eat your popcorn, get your popcorn and get ready to watch the destruction unfold. That's disgusting. Even God cries for the fallen. I know because I feel it in my heart. When I was bringing about the the pyramid activations and repairing the crystalline grid, I saw the outcome of what I was doing. And I kind of got like, I was like, what? Like, what does this mean? And then I was shown free will. Nobody will fall unless they want to fall. God would never do that to anybody. And that's why the depiction of what Judgment Day is wrong. Okay. You have power, you have free will, and you have a choice. And as long as you've chose more love over all your lifetimes, you can rise. Does it mean we can't make mistakes? Yo, you can. Everybody does. Nobody's perfect, right? Especially in a broken world. How can you be born perfect in a broken world? It's very difficult. Okay. So what God asks is faith and strength in him, no matter what comes against that. Faith and strength and unconditional love, no matter what comes against that. And doing your part with everything that rises to see beyond the shadow into unconditional love. The more you do that, the more you clear, the more you rise. But it's hard to see it sometimes when have healing to do. Okay? I hope that really does help clear it up. You guys, money is different in the third world dimension than it was in the new earth. That's also something I had to cleanse. We're quite well aware now of all the corruptedness within that, right? So I had to cleanse that too. So it also has its own karmic kickback, just like the medical field, the foods we eat, animals, all of that will, because it was all manipulated. So anywhere they took the truth of God and used it against you, Religion, Salem, all of that has its own karmic kickback. We can't help that. It's like, it's not punishment. God doesn't punish. It's just taking back what was taken. And what doesn't align with that goes, blah, 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 then it has to fall. Okay. Roger says, hey, how's everyone? We are doing great, actually. I don't know about you guys, but yesterday we had the most amazing workshop. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And we got to send a lot of love, and Salem came up in that as well. So it's kind of funny it's coming up again. But probably because the things that we did in the beginning of the ascension are circling back around now in your reality. Okay. And I was actually upgrading and opening my third eye right before this. You can see I was like, now I'm puffy. My bad. I should wear more makeup again, but I don't like it. It's gross. So I'm just giving a little bit of explanation into who God truly is, because we were lied to so bad, right? And all of the truths are beginning to unfold. Also, too, you guys, the other day I said something about the pyramids are the portals. That's confusing. What does that mean? It took me a while to understand what that meant, right? Lisa, just saying, they've watched and experienced and rose in a lot of the work that I did, if not all of it. And at first we were like, what is happening? What is it? When we went to Fiji, that was the first pyramid I activated, and it was under the water. I cleared Mount Shasta part 1, and then we went to Fiji. Now, why are those two related? Because that's where your false veil came from. So in Fiji, there's a pyramid under the water there. They have like 333 islands, and at one point, I don't think any of it was underwater. So it's all relevant. It's all relative. And under there was actually the God portal, and it was closed off. And I didn't clear that one until Mount Shasta part 2, or was it Fiji part 2? Fiji part 2 is not on my channel. That's only available in the path, because that's just what I was told to do. But in Fiji part 2, I think is when I undid the portal of the gods. I opened all of that up, and I returned the triangle of the eye that was at Mount Shasta back to Fiji over the God portal. So it kind of gives you and this actually depicted it, you guys, and I didn't do this painting. This painting was done by somebody named, she signed it MO, so I'll just leave it at that, right? Because I don't know if I have her permission to oust it, but you can't deny it because she did a reading on me when I first had my awakening. I love that, Roger. Amen. But she did this, you guys. She did a healing on me. I was, like I said, when I had my awakening, at first I was just doing healings. And so she was learning and stuff. And so we did an exchange. And she's like, I don't understand what I'm seeing. And she was trying to describe what she was seeing in my energy. And I'm like, I don't know what any of that means. Oh, Colombia just went through brutal hailstorms. Did you watch my pyramid activations there, Roger? Colombia, British Columbia, Kilimanjaro, and what was the other? Congo. Those were all together. And I'll explain that some more. Why are pyramids our portals? I'm going to explain that. In order to cut down the earth and make it a low vibration, they closed all of those off. And they cut off the life support to the earth, basically. They shifted the poles, and that's when the flood occurred. God didn't cause the flood, okay? And that's another distorted concept. I know because I watched myself die. I watched the white flame go out there. And that was at Lake Titicaca, by the way, which stretches to Machu Picchu. And they don't understand all of that. So all of that was the hub of Atlantis, is what Spirit told me. But anyways, in this, you can see Saturn with an angel underneath it. And this was representative of Mount Shasta. And then there's the triangle with the eye. All of this unfolded over the return of Christ stuff. And she did this in 2020 before I did all the work. I didn't do all the work. I'm like, I don't know what all that meant. She thought she didn't get a clear, like she didn't trust her gift for a while after that. She was like, I don't know what this means. And I was like, I don't either. But in our healing, I felt compelled to stand on the portal, which would also make sense later. But it didn't at first. And then all of this unfolded. I sat on Saturn and I rose Atlantis. We lassoed it with Hermes, the god, and he gave me his belt with golden wings on it. And I'm like, what just happened? That didn't make sense to me at the time. I literally sat on the rings of Saturn. Remember when Saturn was as closest to the planet as it could possibly be a few years ago? That's when I did that one. Timing was absolutely everything in biblical and the true Bible, mind you. And it truly did unfold on this channel. It's the coolest thing to experience. But it's beyond our capacity, right? And the shadow will convince you otherwise. But if you just watch them, we can't deny them. And if you ever do healings with me, we can't deny it. So Saturn happened first. And again, somebody else painted this. This one over here is my painting. This one was somebody else's. And this is me. And back then I was super skinny because my heart didn't become enlarged yet. And my DM did not pass over, and then I got a walk-in yet. I swelled up at both of those times. But this was me, and my hair really is that long. And she never met me yet. Only my face. So when I received this painting, my jaw dropped. I was like, she just felt compelled to mail it to me. But I sat on Saturn with Hermes. He gave me his belt, and I lassoed Atlantis after I saw myself die and undid my contract, and we pulled it out of the water. Then it came up again when I started doing the 7D work, and that's where I saw where Atlantis was. That's in activating the dormant chakra systems one. That's on my channel as well. Then came Mount Shasta. That's what this is. And I didn't know that at first until I did this work, you guys. And back here's a phoenix that came through. And then the triangle with the eye over Mount Shasta is why nobody could see the truth. So what happened at Fiji is they shifted things, right? They cut off the God portal there. Fiji was originally the Earth's root chakra. I didn't know that either. I didn't until I did the work. And then when I cleared Mount Shasta 1 and 2, because you have to put them both together, I removed hundreds of souls that were trapped there. You're talking kids to adult, you guys. There was hundreds and hundreds of them. And it took me 30 days to process. I know Amy's not here, but just Saint might remember I had to take time off to process all of those souls because it was almost as if I was doing life reviews. I was, but I didn't understand that then. And then after that, I cleansed the root chakra and I returned it back to Fiji. And then in part 2, I returned the triangle with the eye back to Fiji and I burned Samael and I undid what happened there. So the fallen gets in people's heads, really messes with them, really hurts them, creates fear in a way where they don't have a choice. And I actually saw the DM had to kill the DF and all this bloodshed came there. And from there, that's when it became more and more and more corrupt and dirty. And there was tunnels under there. Hence this dude right here with a tunnel under it, which I didn't know either. Yeah, just Saint says, I recall it took you over a month to process these souls. And you guys, this was over the last 5 years of work that I've been doing this stuff. It wasn't in one day. I couldn't have made it up if I tried. It literally took a toll on my vessel. You can look back through all my videos. Because I didn't start this channel until Spirit nudged me to do so. So I love how Roger's like in Colombia just went through a brutal hailstorm. That brings me to Dubai also. Aren't they getting like pummeled? What did I do in Dubai? Do you guys remember? I don't know if it's on a video or not. It might be because most everything I did is recorded. And we were all surprised. But Dubai actually had a resort of Atlantis. And in one of the things that I cleared, I lightning struck the shit out of Dubai. I was like, bam, bam. It was like karma, like boom, boom, boom. And I also did that in somewhere in Africa. Where was it? Where was the hub of the Illuminati in Africa? It was also one of the first things I did. I lightning struck the crap out of that. I didn't activate a pyramid there though. Where is I'm trying to remember because I couldn't make this stuff up. I had to actually learn about it after I did it. I'm like, oh, what is that? And oh, what is that? And I had astronomers going, oh, that's real. Like those exist. I was like, oh, Northwest Africa. Yeah, but it was like, name the capital of Africa for me. There is a well-known place there. I want to say a D name. I know the pyramids I activated were Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. No, it wasn't. The pyramids I activated were Nigeria, Zimbabwe, and Botswana. But I'll try to find it. It might be in some of the workshop stuff that I did. We'll have to look it up. But the headquarter of Illuminati was there, and I lightning struck it. And then I dried the Nile, also, but not all at the same time frame. The true return of Christ had to unfold piece by piece in the layers in which it was created, just like we heal ourselves, right? We have to heal and undo what was done in the layers in which it was created. And that's what I had to do for the earth and what happened to God and the return of Christ. Okay. Because it wasn't just Jesus, you guys. That's all we were told, right? Just Jesus. We hear about Adam and Eve, but why isn't that brought up for the return of Christ? We just think the return of Christ is a man coming out of the sky. When you put all the work together that I did, it'll make sense. The sun and the moon, I fixed those, undid all darkness of that, moved them. I know that sounds crazy, but it's true. And that's what they called Judgment Day, which wasn't Judgment Day. It's who can see that, who can hear it. And that's when the call got put out. But the true return of Christ was undoing all of the division and the darkness, and what ripped the twin souls apart wasn't just Jesus. It was Jesus and Mary Magdalene, Sekhmet and Horus, and Adam and Eve. But it played out Adam and Eve first. That was Atlantis. Then it went to Jesus and Mary Magdalene, started with Mount Shasta, and then I cleared all pyramids and activated them and repaired the crystalline grid. Then from there came the Sekhmet. But with Jesus and Mary Magdalene, I had to unite those twin souls, and that was when my DM and I also united in the physical realm. It was crazy. It was intense. And then the shadow tries to get in and rip that shit apart. Oh man, does it ever. Okay. So I'm not conditional love, and my DM shouldn't be either. Nobody should focus on anything conditional. And God would never want to humiliate anybody. Okay. It's not like God is coming back going, you're horrible and you're horrible. You must die. That's not it at all. Okay. That's why I have all the answers. The path is there. Okay. You just have to be strong to rise out of that. You have to be strong to withstand others' judgments and not allow those to become you. You have to be strong and not allow those to snuff out your light that want to hang and burn you. Did you know Jesus was burned, by the way? That's not talked about anywhere. I saw this thing going, oh, we know Jesus is real because we found the stakes. I'm like, what the? No, you didn't. He didn't die on a cross. Not at all. He was also burned. I know because I smelled the burning flesh. And I had to process that death. And then we had to clear it and undo the Holy Grail, which was not holy. I don't like how they call it that. It was the unholy grail. It was a contract in his blood. The cup was relevant because they made her gather his blood in it. Also, that's what they poisoned him in. There's no cross. There's no proof because his body was burned. The only proof was the Holy Grail. And there probably is other things of proof, but they probably destroyed them. So let me see what the capital of Africa is. I don't know much about it because I didn't study this stuff. Let's see. Capital of Africa.
According to homework.study.com, the city that would come closest to qualifying as the capital of Africa would be the city of Addis Ababa.
That wasn't it
in the
either.
East African country of Ethiopia.
That
Addis
wasn't it
Ababa.
either. I'll have to try to look back at my videos. It's probably one of my pyramid activations of what I lightning struck. Was it Ghana? I think it was Ghana. That's Africa, right? I think it was in Ghana. Possibly. Don't quote me though. It's been so long since I did that. You guys, I also burned and plucked all GMO farms in the very beginning. Ghana, yeah. I think that might have been where I lightning struck the Illuminati. That's where the headquarter of it was. Okay. Your Antichrist is it's a little bit of multiple components. The way they look at, the way that Spirit shows what the Antichrist is like a puppet master, right? And so consider the fallen. It's like it's a shadow. It's in like an energy. El Diablo, they call it. And he gets his little webs into people and gets them to do stuff outside of God. And so it's like a puppet master. And that is what I undid the layers of. And that's what we all have to rise out of. So even De La Roca needs to up his game with the words he uses, because when he makes a title, and his video is probably beautiful. I didn't watch it. I trust him. I know he's connected. But we need to understand what the true God is. Okay. So the shadow convinces me the DM doesn't love me all the time. The shadow also pushes to say things that we probably shouldn't say. You know, like in the fear video I did, I was like, shit. I look back and I'm like, no, I said that wrong. Fear tries to get in, you know what I mean? And we have to stand beyond that. And when I got a walk-in DM, I healed my first DM all the way. And when I got a walk-in, I had to do it again, because that's how twin flames will unite, is you have to heal all components of you. So getting a walk-in, I truly had to connect to a new person, DNA and all. And then I had to do that again. And so I have to be careful how I word my own words. And so because the shadow will get in and try to convince you something that's not of God. And if you accept that, then you go outside of God and you detach from that light. That's how you become a fallen. Okay. So that's what happened with the V. They pushed fear, manipulation, control, and outside of free will. Okay. You didn't have free will with it a lot of times. So you did, but they gave you the illusion that you didn't. And so where people actually took it, what you don't realize is you can't get the DNA activations now. There were a few of them that were placebo effects, but most were not. And now they're actually talking about that. It has foreign DNA and it shouldn't be on the market. That's a big thing about it now. And that's what we were all warning everybody about. Like, don't listen to them. Don't fall prey to the fear, because that's not of God. Okay. So where they get you to go outside of free will, where they can use fear, division, manipulation, even the words, humiliation, initiation, that's not God. And that's what De La Roca had on his title. It's not God. Okay. God is true unconditional love. Like my DM, I love him no matter what. I love him completely. But the shadow gets in our energy and I can hear it and I can feel it. And it'll get you to think something else. Right? It creates fear, an illusion of fear, an illusion of grandeur. And then these are part of the shackles that bind. And I'll talk about those more tomorrow, probably. Just making sense. And I find it interesting how Salem keeps coming up. So we cleared Salem probably at least 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Just saying, are you still here? Do you remember when we cleared Salem? It's been a while. That was before we cleared religion, right? I think we cleared Salem before we cleared religion ties. Religion is what you call religion. God calls it religion. It was a divide. It was to realign, redivide, because they take your power away. When they do that, when they get us to go against each other, 3 years since we cleared Salem, when they get you to go against each other, they take your power away. That's why all religion is not of God. You can't have divisions of God. That doesn't make any sense at all. That's like worshiping the angels over God, which is coming out today in my angel healing, you guys, because the angels are like, well, we work for you. I'm like, oh shit. So I got to do it and then they will help. I'm like, well, that's a weird concept I have to get used to. It's been 3 years now since we cleared Salem, and that's now coming out in the energy big time. And there's no coincidence to De La Roca's title with that as well, humiliation, initiation. So in Salem, they convinced you that they killed all witches. They were supposed to be dark, but it wasn't that. The darkness killed all light, and we burned and suffered, and they were torturing kids and burning them and hanging them. That's not God. Like, what the WTF, right? Like, oh my gosh. And we cleared a lot of souls from there. Just Satan had died there, and she vowed to come back and help clear it. And that was part of her purpose with the ascension and the return of Christ. Not the only thing, though. Then we also cleared religion because she's part of the Vladimir bloodline. And that's where it became corrupt. So the same thing happened. They used fear, murder, bloodshed, division to get you to go against God. And if you accept judgment, you also remove yourself from God. So if you're afraid of somebody judging you and you don't shine your light because you don't want to be judged, you remove yourself from God. That's what I think De La Roca is trying to talk about. God looks for the warriors. Those are the ones who are going to make it through. The ones who aren't afraid to stand against to create the change that's needed. And I think that's what De La Roca is trying to talk about, is to be able to shine our light, we have to go against the norm. We have to be willing to accept judgments. We have to be willing to stand up to fear and bypass it because we know that's not of God. We have to be willing to see the truths, even if they hurt sometimes. Okay. And then shine love into them. We have to understand that the world is a reflection designed to help you heal. So if I go to somebody and they spark this in me, oh, you guys, I had 2 likes on this video. Somebody left and unliked it. What am I saying that's wrong? Let me ask you that. What am I saying that's wrong? What do I say when I say God is love? He's not division. He's light. And I have all the proof to the stuff that I did. What am I saying that's wrong? That's what I want to know. It's sparking I did nothing to you. Nothing. No, I'm not hurting people. I'm helping them. I heal them. So when I find people come here and I got 2 likes and then they take it away and leave without even watching the proof and the truth, and I'm speaking of love, it's like, what am I doing wrong? That is the shadow speaking loudly. That's what that is. That's their shadow. They cannot see past because you better believe the truth is going to invoke that. When I tell you Jesus didn't die on a damn cross, that he was burned and murdered and tortured, and they poisoned him and then got his twin soul to gather his blood to write a contract in his blood, I bet that makes you go, ugh, if you're religious. I bet it sparks anger in you, right? Again, not of God. Yes, Roger, you are right. Sometimes the brainwashing is way too deep. And those are the ones that won't make it. That's why about a quarter of our population it will make it through and the rest will not. That's all we've got about now. That's not a lie. From the eclipse on, I felt only about a quarter of the population that's on this planet hear that call. And if I'm speaking love and I'm telling you, hey, get a better lens of love because God is nothing but love, unconditional love. There's no condition, no divide, and that makes you not like something. That's a big wound in you that you need to heal, my friends. For real. Okay? And that's what this is all about. We got to be able to see beyond the illusion. Because how often is it somebody has proof? You guys, my journey was a part of my awakening. I didn't even know what was happening to me at first. I felt the nudges in my heart and I never stopped following that nudge. I stood strong every time one came and I did the work, even with things trying to stop me the whole entire way. And I'm talking physical attacks, spiritual attacks, mental attacks. It doesn't matter. That shadow it took every bit of strength that I have. And those that stood strong and kept watching and worked with me saw it. And the truth would unfold. And we were all like, like that just really happened. We would always see something amazing. And then along the way, Spirit would have me show other proof, like the missing people things that I would do. I can't do anymore because I'm in the new earth. To like, have you noticed I did the video on Tupac and I told you it was P. Diddy and I also told you how disgusting he was and now it's happening to him. I did one on the Kardashians, now it's happening to them. That other guy, the kid that was murdered, they found his body finally. Everything I did, I kept saying I'm trying to clear this out of the karmic ties. And now look what's happening. Boom, 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 boom. Now I'm ready for Bob Saget because guess who killed him? If you watch that video, do you remember who killed Bob Saget? Do you guys remember? I remember when I was channeling Bob Saget in that one, he was like, shh, let's not do this. Let's not talk about this. Because it was like, that person is quite powerful. Do you remember who it was? Anybody remember who killed Bob Saget? He didn't die accidentally. He had something that they wanted from him because he could have got people in trouble. And he wasn't quiet. Like he would sing. It was Depeche Mode and Joe Rogan. I remember that. I'm like, who the hell is Depeche Mode? I remember their name, but who are they? And it was also Joe Rogan. Yeah. And Joe Rogan, a lot of people are trying to convince him of the return of Christ right now. I know they're a band, but I want to know who they are individually. I never researched it. And now people are trying to there's a lot about Joe Rogan coming up and he has lots of followers. And I remember doing that video, the spirit of Bob Saget was like, shh. He's like, shh, this is dangerous. I'm like, bring it. I don't care. Yeah. So Joe Rogan is not of the light either. Okay. Neither is Depeche Mode. What a tangled web we weave. This goes back to the puppet master. Okay. They get you where you become corrupt with the ties that bind. That's where you fall away from God. Okay. Does that mean somebody can't do drugs and make a few mistakes and still have a lot of love in their heart? No, people make mistakes. You need to understand the difference. But why is it when I'm sitting here speaking the truth of God, that he's all love, he's not division, and I talk about the proof is right in front of us. You guys, I didn't even paint this painting. Her name was Martina. I didn't paint this painting. And then it was before I did the work. And she never knew how long my hair was either. Like, the proof is right here. So why would people unfollow, unlike? Every time I talk about the true God, I really invoke people's shadow. Holy majoli. Yet you fall prey to false prophets every day, like Joe Rogan or Teal Swan, because they can't prove anything they do to you. Joe Rogan's a little different. He was just money. But Teal Swan, she can't prove what she does. No, she cannot. She even tells you about it. She's like, I'll just read a book and tell you. She don't care. Telling people to commit suicide, I'll tell you right now, that's not of God. Does it condemn you? No, but you have to clear it. It's karma. Because we're all connected. That's not self-love. Right? The ways to fall away from God. Lisa says, they were my favorite group in the 80s. Dude, you know how many people though I used to listen to growing up? I'm like, ooh, whoops. They're not quite of the light now. Right? I think we all fell prey to that. But how can we not in a broken world? So now we're realizing most of Hollywood and the music industry is corrupt. And I remember doing Marilyn Monroe's video, Michael Jackson's video, and talked about all of those. So everything I did was purposeful, but also proof to what is playing out in your reality at this time. Because Tupac actually, P. Diddy hired somebody to murder him. I said that. That person was now arrested. The other person is gone. And they ousted Diddy. But instead of arresting him for that, they got him for everything else. Sorry, I'm that old. In high school. I'm sorry. I don't know what I said. Oh, I couldn't read it. There's a heart on my thing. I couldn't see her fold photos through that. So sorry. So sorry. So, like, my other channels, people judge me less than they do on this one. And this one has all the proof. So I literally say, hey, I resurrected Jesus on Christmas Day live on this channel. I couldn't make it up. It was live. Here's your proof. And people won't watch it, or they'll watch 5 minutes of it, let their shadow stop them. That's like Roger said, the brainwashing is too deep. And so when the truth comes out, it invokes that shadow and people get angry at me. Yet you'll have a false prophet and singing loudly and people are like, ooh, ooh. Like, gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. I just know I've heard of them before, and I'm sure I've listened to them before. But I don't know the individuals in that band or anything. I just know that's what came out in the murder of Bob Saget, because Joe Rogan didn't do himself. He's like a Diddy, right? You hire people to do their dirty work. That's what they do. They hire people to do their dirty work, but they're in God's, they're still guilty of it just the same. Actually, Lisa, yeah, and Roger's spot on about it. It's brainwashing. They took the truth of God, okay? They take little pieces of God. That's what the Bible did. They took little pieces of truth and they wrapped it around a bunch of lies and shit and got you to remove yourself from the true God. And so people have to be able to see beyond that illusion. Roger says, as I was growing up, I could never understand how could you worship a person. I mean, trad in person for a powerful that created you and brought you into existence for just a person I never understood. That's a little bit of a wound, I would say, Roger, because God is real and God is in our heart, but God is love. He's not in a church that divides and binds and tells you you're going to go to hell if you don't dunk your head in water. Or in a church where they feed you what killed Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. God is very real, but that's where you're confused in that too, I think, is because we are all fragmented pieces of God. And well, you guys are fragmented pieces of God. I'm what they call a direct descendant. So it's a little different, but you literally, and also it's my light you guys are being called home to if you haven't figured that out yet. Because I put the call through the sun and the moon on the eclipse if you didn't watch that video, which most people didn't. I actually spoke through the sun and the moon in the language of God and called everybody home. And so only those who were able to be tethered to that and could hear the call of God will come home, and it is my path. So it gives you a little more insight into who I am. But the thing about Roger, what I think you're trying to get grasp is that God is everything and anything and everything all wrapped into one, because he's the creator, right? So, but it's all energy, and we're all like fragmented pieces of that light trying to work our way back home. And the way to do that is through self-love and further understanding of unconditional love and what love is. But what also true God is from the illusion and letting everything else go. So we've all made mistakes. We all have wounds to heal, and we need to be able to see beyond that. So there's a little bit of judgment in that, Roger, because of the wounds they created. Absolutely. Okay. You have religious ties in you that need to be healed, because they used God's light against you. Okay. And that's what they did. Jesus didn't die for your sins. That's a lie, and it takes away free will. You have to heal your own. Okay. That doesn't make any sense to that knowledge. They gave him, they poisoned bread and wine. John the Apostle didn't fed it to him. And that's why you'll go to some churches and they literally feed you little pieces of bread and juice for wine, because they're poisoning the shit out of you. And then they have you hang a cross with Jesus hanging on it, which God would never do that. That's disgusting. And have you worship it. That's disgusting. Okay. He did bleed out of every orifice, because try being poisoned from the inside out and not bleeding out of every orifice. And then they burned him. Okay. So there was no cross. It broke when they divided your masculine and feminine God. And it started with Adam and Eve. And it ended with Sekhmet and Horus. Making sense now? Because God is pure love, pure masculine and feminine. It's both. Just like the earth, you have the flat earthers who are so adamant the earth is flat. And then you have the round earthers who are so adamant the earth is round. And if you put them both together, you've got the truth. It's both. And that's what God showed me. It's a round sphere with a flat plane. And no matter which way the sphere is turning, because if you watch my work, I've rotated the earth several times and created 5 more poles and fixed what they undid. So I moved our poles, then created 5 more, taking us into 7D. And I've changed her axis, and that's actually scientifically being proven now. I'm like, holy shit, it's real. But it's a round sphere with a flat plane of existence. And no matter which way that sphere turns, the plane stays still. Otherwise, we would all be going, whoa, whoa, every time she spins. So we have to understand that we are so divided, nobody can see a clear proof of truth. And so where they've used God against you through the church, through religion, is very big. And those are most of the ones that probably won't rise. It's very true. So if you come here and you throw judgment my way, you're removing yourself from God. Why throw judgment at me when I have proof? And yet others that can't prove it, that throw those lies at you, you're so engulfed in it, just like that. It's your anchoring into the shadow. Okay. You made choices in your lifetime to take yourself away from God by going into what is corrupt. Because when I brought down the blood of Christ, literally brought down the blood of Christ and anointed only about a quarter of the homes on this earth. And then when I also undid the Holy Grail and resurrected Jesus and Mary Magdalene, I spoke very clearly, very loudly, that karma has now shifted. And what was done in the light cannot be used in the darkness anymore. And what is done in the darkness cannot bleed into the light any longer. So that should help to give you a clear perspective. We are all connected through God. The breath you take, the light you feel, the blood that flows. It's God's earth. Okay, it's not your earth. He made it for Adam and Eve. Humankind didn't come right away, and it was not a direct descendant from God. That's why people are confused and think the Nephilim created humankind. Some of them probably. That's why some people here don't have a soul. Some people here are not of God at all. Those ones definitely will fall. Others will just choose not to rise. So some will go, some will stay, and some will never know life this way. How far did you remove yourself from God? How far can you not see the truth? Because you should be hearing my call into your heart space. Yeah. Instead of disliking and leaving without looking for proof. That's discernment. I sit here and tell you I have the proof. I'm not just saying this. I'm not just waking up to it. I did it. I did the work. Just Saint should speak loudly about the religious ties because it was part of her bloodline. And she put it into the ascension with me. Like she showed up, she made her mark. And so it's being removed out of the collective soul for sure. And so I tell people, I laugh because some people are like, oh, the church is exempt. No, they're the biggest downfall. They murdered Christ. They divided Jesus and Mary Magdalene, spoke very badly about Magdalene. And if you know who God made Eve and then Adam to protect Eve, and they are equals. Okay. Then the shadow came and got Eve out of balance, which is why they mock her and said she ate a freaking apple. That's not the truth. If you know anything, that shadow is very dark, very evil, and very powerful, and did everything to separate them. Then Adam couldn't see. He got out of balance. He couldn't see, and he went for a false goddess. He was manipulated and eventually killed Eve. And that was when I died at Lake Titicaca and my flame went out. Okay. I saw myself die, tried to save my kids, and then I saw the flood come in. God didn't do that. That was the fallen. They knew what to do because Archangel Samael was the original fallen angel. So he knew the makings. He knew what to do to undo what is God and to take over this earth. And that's what happened. Okay. He wanted God's power. And then eventually the people were created through the angels. So Prometheus came on and said he was the God of humankind. He came on quite a few years ago as I was doing the work, did a video on that. And so most people are the light of God. They carry the light of God. We're fragmented pieces, right? And some are not at all. So some might have been creations of the Nephilim, the fallen. Others were not. They were created by the gods, not God himself. Making sense? And so that is why in the rapture, you either rise or you don't. You either see truth or you don't. You clear it. You have to heal it and clear it and see the truth the whole way. Yeah. So on that note, I was going to do messages and healings, but I have a healing today on Facebook. I am doing, I was doing angels with healings for 13 days, but then I keep going, which angel is coming? And the angels are like, I'm in charge. And I'm like, this makes no sense, but it does make sense. So, what I got for today is we're doing a chakra healing and balance on Facebook at 2:22 my time. So Jacinth said, it did come through me in a healing. I was told I was a direct descendant of Vladimir the Great, who was of the light, but apparently let the darkness in and created the shadow into Catholicism. And hence that was where religion was born. Yep. That is where religion was born, Vladimir bloodline. And when we did the healing on her, we undid it all. So it's going to fall. And it's not just Catholicism, it's all religion. God is in our heart. Everybody's an equal. Nobody's better than or greater than. And that's what religion teaches you. None of that makes sense. We are so distorted on who God really is. You're so distorted on who God really is that you don't even watch the proof that I provide. Most of you just judge me. And that is what De La Roca is talking about, because I never let you stop me. I still rose and cleared it all. Yes, Jacinth said that is where religion was born. It is going to fall in our lifetime. Yes, it is. And if you anchor into it, you fall with it. You have to heal it. Just like Mount Shasta, if you anchor into the shadow in any way, you fall with it. You have to heal it. So even De La Roca needs to change his words, because God wouldn't humiliate anybody what he's trying to say. And it was just the title. The video is probably accurate. But what he was trying to say is God looks for those warriors who stand against the darkness and aren't afraid to shine their light no matter what fear, division, shackles present themselves. Whether it be money, judgment, fear, religion. Are you willing to stand strong against it all as it's falling, or do you fall with it? That's why the chosen ones are supposed to be the ones strong enough to rise above that, you guys. But even twin flames fell prey. And we have proof of that too. I had to use the trees a lot for Christ's light. I did that in protecting Israel. Okay. So if you want to come get some healings today, come to my live on Facebook at 2:22. It is my business page, not my main page. I don't use my main page very much. So if you're not following my business page, you're missing a lot of things. I know, Roger, I know you're on my personal page, but I don't know if you're on my business page. So it is on my business page. It'll be at 2:22. This is day 5. There has been 4 days before this of angel healings. They're amazing. So I recommend those if you can come, if you can see without judgment stopping you, right? I hope. So go to Facebook at 2:22 Mountain Standard Time. And today's is I'm going to be healing chakras, balancing chakras, and whatever else comes through. I feel like Haniel will be joining me and Archangel Michael will be joining me. However, they keep giving me this information that it'll be me over them. So I'll be doing most of the work throughout these. And I was like, angel healings for 13 days, because that's what most people relate to. But they're not allowing me to do that like that. So, and we've noticed that on them. Especially in day 2 with Ariel. That was amazing. So it'll be me and the angels. Okay. So if you want to come to that, come to that. All right, you guys. On that note, though, I'm going to put up protections from all around. If people here cannot find love in their hearts and they want to dislike something that's about God without watching proof, it's a very loud reflection of your shadow. Why even do that? Spread love or spread nothing at all. Okay. Saint says, I've attended all of those angel healings. They are incredibly powerful and so freeing. Yes, I can't see beyond the heart to your comment, so I'm sorry. But yes, most freeing, I think is the word she used. Yes, they're very great. If you're new to the healings with me, some can kick your ass, because true Christ healing, when you have toxins and things, you feel it, So you have to release the muck and then you rise above, new activations, awakenings occur. That's the way it works. Sometimes. Other times you're like, and then you go through the releasing. It just depends. So, you guys, the proof is in the pudding, whatever that means. Like, I have tangible proof, right? Yep. Hope to see everybody too, but only 3 of you stayed with me. I'm going to assume it's Lisa, Roger, and Jasaint. Because Roger hasn't worked with me, but I think he's just been open enough to keep seeing. He keeps seeing more pieces and more pieces. And Lisa and Jasaint have both risen through me. So they know how real it is. Yeah. And the amazing stuff that's occurred. We can't deny it if we try, so that's true discernment. When people throw discernment at me, I laugh. I'm like, again, you're focusing on a corrupted discernment. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. Yet they'll throw darkness at me and say, use discernment. I'm like, wait a minute. We are so distorted on who true God is, you guys. But why wouldn't we be? They had such a tangled web they weave. Programming, corruptedness, and they used fragments of God's truth because that is what got you in your heart. Yet I'll speak loudly of the truth. It is my light you're supposed to be finding home, and yet people get angry at it. And you have to wonder why. True masters reflect your shadow big time. So I don't take it personal. Only about a quarter of us are going to rise above anyways. So find love, my friends. I will see you at 2:22. It's about 2 hours from now. So much love to all of you. Hasta la vista. Bye.